Welcome to the classroom, dear students. Now I am going to give you an introductory lecture on Bryophyta. So, these Bryophyta are a group of plants having about 900 genera and 24,000 species. This is according to Parihar 1965, and it is a large group of autophytic plants, and this plant group represents one of the main 4 divisions of the plant kingdom, and phylogenetically it occupies a position intermediate between Thallophyta and Pteridophyta. That is, this group stand at an evolutionary level higher than that of a thallophyte, but lower than that of a pteridophyte and spermatophyta, that is seed plants. So, the phylogenetic position of Bryophyta is this Thallophyta represented by these algae and Bryophyta represented by these plant groups, then Pteridophyta, and then comes to Spermatophyta, and these Spermatophyta are nothing but the seed plants. So, the Bryophytes are, in short, they are an informal division of plant groups consisting of 3 groups of non-vascular plants, namely liverworts, hornworts and mosses. And here the non-vascular plants are those plants having no vascular tissues or no development of vascular tissues, and they are liverworts, hornworts and mosses, and this comprises the Bryophytic plants as a whole. So, the Bryophytic plants are classified into 3 different divisions. Number 1 is your Hepaticopsida, including this Rixia, Markensia, and the second class is Anthoceratopsida, represented by this Anthocero species, and the third class it is the Bryopsida, they are represented by this Funaria, and the different 3 subdivisions have different specific characters. So, I will discuss it later on in the next slide. So, the diagnostic characters, that is, the diagnostic character means the characteristic features of these Bryophytic plants. The most important characteristic features of Bryophyta, they are heteromorphic. That means there is well distinct defined alternation of generations in the life history, that is sexual gametophyte and asexual sporophytic generations or phases which are following with one another and in a regular succession. So, I will explain it later on in a bit detail. And second one is the plant body represents the gametophytic generation, and which is the conspicuous, highly developed, differentiated and longer lived plant body, that is gametophytic generation, is always independent in structure. Gametophytic generation is always independent in structure and long lived, and they are independent among the often the sporophytic plant body. That means the plant body represents an independent structure having the chlorophyllous tissue, that is grass green chlorophyllous tissue, which can manufacture their own food. So, they are belonging to that independent structure. And the gametophytic plant body is green in color. So, I have already told you this grass green plastis, that is chloroplastis in the cells are present, and they are either thallus-like or differentiated into stem, roots and leaves, and maybe rootless leafy plant. And these thallus plants are nothing but, you might have known earlier, these thallus. The thallus are those plant groups where the plant body cannot be differentiated into roots, stems and leaves, and they are just like a flat body. So, the stems and the leaves of the gametophyte are always known as foliose, and they are designated by Koch in 1956, and the colloid, that is axis, is otherwise known as colloid, and the leaf structure, that is known as phylloid. So, these are the, and unlike Tracheophyta, this means Tracheophyta means the vascular plants, These vascular plants are nothing but those plants having the vascular tissues. So, unlike Bryophyta, these vascular plants, true roots are absent among these bryophytic plants, and instead of the true roots, the root-like rhizoids and scales are present, which perform the function of the roots, and they are present in the gametophytic plant body. And the next characteristic feature of this bryophytic plant is presence of multicellular sex organs. These multicellular sex organs are known as antheridium, and the female sex organ, it is known as archegonium. The archegonium is more or less flask-shaped organ, and it consists of a swollen portion called venter and the slender elongated upper region called neck. This I will explain later on by with the help of diagrams. In an archegonium, there is an axial row of cells surrounded by a sterile jacket, and this axial row of cells consists of a variable number of neck canal cells and a ventral canal cell, and this ventral canal cell is just near the venter, and a larger basal egg canal cell which surrounds the egg. The egg cell later functions as ovum oosphere, and it is known as egg, and the antheridium is pear-shaped or oblong body and consists of a single layer of protective sterile jackets. That means protective sterile jacket means they have no reproductive capacity, but their function is only the protection and investing a mass of cells called sperm mother cells or androcytes. And the sixth characteristic feature of these bryophytic plants are all members of bryophytes lack typical vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem, in their gametophytic and sporophytic plant bodies are totally absent. That means in the bryophytes are very lower plant groups having no vascular tissues, so they are included under these cryptogamic plants. And the next the next characteristic feature, that is one of the most important characteristic feature, is sexual reproduction is of oogamous type. So, in case of sexual reproduction, there is the union of the heterogametes. And what you mean by heterogametes means the gametes are dissimilar in structure and shape, where the male gametes are smaller and motile, known as sperms or antherozoids, while female gametes are larger and non-motile, called egg or oosphere. The sperm or antherozoids are biflagellate, that means they have two flagellates with whiplash type of flagella. This whiplash type of flagella means just like the leaves, thus locomotion of the leaves, and the heterogamy fuses and form the zygote. Then the next characteristic feature or diagnostic feature is the embryo is multicellular. Embryo means the formation of the embryo in the bryophytic plant is by the fusion of male and female gametes having twice a number of chromosomes, that is diploid number of chromosome, and it is multicellular, and the development of this embryo takes place within the venter of the archegonium. That means the venter of the archegonium is the bulging portion of the archegonia with the developing embryo, and the basal portion of the archegonium enlarges to form a protective envelope, and this protective envelope it is called as calyptra. Then the next characteristic feature of the bryophytic plant is the sporophytic plant body is developed from the sporogonium, and it develops ultimately from the embryo as a simple structure without stem, leaves and roots, and largely dependent on the gametophytic plant body for its water and mineral nutrition. And as the sporogonium lacks absorbing organs like rhizoids, roots or even vascular tissues, they are totally dependent on the gametophytic plant body for their nourishment, that means for their development. And the next one is characteristic feature is the mature sporogonium is multicellular and has wall layers. It is mostly differentiated into a historical food a stem-like seta, and a terminal spore-producing organ that is known as capsule. This is this will be capsule, and some species, that is Rixia, the sporophyte is very simple, being represented by globose capsule only. Within the capsule, here also capsule is spelling is right. One type of haploid spores, that is homospores, are produced by reduction division of spore mother cells. And what you mean by reduction division, you might have known or you may not be having this knowledge. That is, reduction division is there are two types of mainly cell divisions in the reproduction, that is meiosis and mitosis cell division. And meiosis cell division, it is known as reduction cell division, where the chromosome number is reduced into half, that is from twice the number of chromosome it will be reduced into haploid number of chromosome, that is n number of chromosome. This is reduction division, and this reduction division is nothing but the meiosis cell division. So the spore mother cell becomes twice n, and from this twice n the haploid spores are produced. And in short, the life cycle of Bryophyta in word diagram is that the gametophytic plant body, it is represented by a number of chromosomes, that is haploid number of chromosomes, and when matured it will give rise to archegonium, the female reproductive unit containing a number of chromosomes, that is haploid number of chromosome. And another one is antheridium, that is male reproductive unit, it will also produce a number of chromosome. And after fusion of this sperm and the egg, from archegonium it will give to egg, and from antheridium it will give rise to sperm, and by fusion of this sperm and the egg, that is haploid number of chromosome, it will give rise to zygote, and the formation of zygote, that is twice the number of chromosome, it is known as fertilization. So fertilization is nothing but the union of the male and the female gamete having the zygote, and this is embryo formation. Zygote formation is nothing but the embryo formation, and this embryo formation will give rise to sporophytic plant body, young sporophytic plant body having twice n, that is diploid number of chromosome. And this, from this sporophytic plant body, after maturation it will give rise to capsule, and this containing twice n number of chromosome. And by meiosis subdivision, as I have already described to you or told to you, that capsule is nothing but twice the number of chromosome is giving rise to spores, that is n number of chromosome by the meiosis cell division. So meiosis cell division, without meiosis cell division, this capsule twice the number of chromosome cannot give rise to a spore, that is n number of chromosomes. So the reduction of the chromosome number from twice n to n, this is by means of meiosis cell division. So from spores it will germinate to gametophytic plant body, that is gametophytic stage. So there are two different stages in the development of the life cycle of Bryophyta. Number one is the gametophytic stage, that is gamete producing stage up to this sperm and egg. This is known as gametophytic stage. And second stage is represented by, after the formation of zygote, this sporophytic plant body develops, and sporophytic plant body will give rise to capsule after maturation, and after maturation this meiosis cell division will give rise to spores, and up to meiosis from zygote, this is known as sporophytic cell division or sporophytic generation. So the life cycle of Bryophyta is completed only after completion of these two different stages, that is gametophytic stage representing the gametes as haploid, and sporophytic stage, that is represented by twice the number of chromosomes. So after the completion of these two stages only, the life cycle of Bryophyta is completed. So this is known as alternation of generation in the life cycle of Bryophyta, and you can find this alternation of generation of life cycle in different plant groups also, such as your pteridophyte, then algae, then higher plant groups. So this is all about the life cycle of Bryophyta in word diagram in a very simple way. So I will explain it later on in the next class. Then after this, let's come to the classification of Bryophyta in a bit short form. According to International Code of Botanical Nomenclature 1956 and 1966, the classification adopted by Proskar 1957, the division Bryophyta has been classified into 3 classes, as I have already mentioned you, and those 3 classes are Bryophyta having 3 classes. Class 1 represented by this Hepaticopsida, and class 2 represented by Anthochiroptopsida, and class 3 represented by your Bryopsida. And this I will see you the the class 1 is represented by this Hepaticopsida is represented by this species, that is Rixia species, Markensia species, and the second class it is represented by Anthoceros, and they are generally known as hornworts because from the gametophytic plant body the horn-like structures are developed as a sporophytic plant body, so they are generally known as hornworts. And these Rixia and Markensia, they are generally known as liverworts. And the third one, that is they are known as Bryopsida, and in this Bryopsida you might have known Bryopsida are nothing but in Manipuri they are belonging to your mosses, that is Isang, the green carpets which are covering the carpet during the rainy season, that is known as Isangi Sarukwa, Isangi Sagai haitare. Then Anthoceros, they are hornworts, and these Rixia and Markensia, they are liverworts because their structures are just like your livers, our liver. So these are the 3 classes of Bryophyta. Sorry. And the class 1, this is Hepaticopsida, it is otherwise known as Hepatici, and here the plant bodies, as I have already discussed with you, the structural organization of your Rixia and Rixia and Markensia. The plant bodies are dorsiventrically differentiated and either thallus or with leaf-like appendages, folios, and either internally differentiated into various tissues or not, that is homogeneous or heterogeneous, and sex organs are situated on the dorsal surface of the plant body and they are terminal in position, and sporophytes may be simple or with foot, seta and capsule, and sporogenous tissue derived from endothecium of an embryo. And about this I will discuss you in the next class about this description and the discussion, more discussion. If you want, I can discuss it later on in the next class. And the Hepaticopsida includes 4 orders. The orders are Sperocarpels, Markensials, Zungarmenials, Calobryals, and these Sperocarpels are Sperocarpus, Markensials, here Rixia and Markensia, etc., as I have already told you in the diagram, and Zungarmenials, that is Pelia, Porella, etc., and Calobryals, that is Calobria. And the next class is represented by Anthochiroptopsida, that is Anthochiroidae. And this here, the gametophytes are dorsiventrally differentiated. Here, what do you mean by dorsiventrally differentiated? Means the thallus sides are different. The 2 sides are different. One side is ventral surface, and another side is dorsal surface. So the the plant body which we can differentiate between the dorsal and the ventral surface, it is known as dorsiventrally differentiate. And thallus like internal tissue differentiation is absent and internally homogeneous, and rhizoids smooth wall and scales absent. And another specific structure which is different from the Hepaticopsida is the sex organs are embedded in the gametophytic tissue. This is one of the characteristic feature of your Anthochiroptopsida. That means the sporophytic plant bodies are differentiated into food and a capsule only, and the lower portion of the capsule is meristematic, and sporogenous tissue derives from epithelium of an embryo, and the endothelium contributes in the formation of sterile columella, and this class contains a single order which is known as Anthoceroidales, and which includes 4 genera, that is Anthoceros, your Anthoceros, which is included in your diagram, and Megaceros, and Dendroceros, and Neophytylus. And in your syllabus, we have to discuss about Anthoceros only. And now the third class, Bryophyta. That is, they are otherwise known as Masia or Moss and Masai. Aina haibado Moss haidi akhoi isangi group se akhona yengba matam da sangtrik changna weraga su microscope ta magi pambi do ama khatang lauraga yengba matam da magi ge sporocarp su yaure sporophyte yawe maton da ma yawe adu sporocarp ka weduna isangi group si boy koina they are included under your Bryophyta. So the gametophytes in this Bryophyta, this class is one of the most highest evolved class among these 3 classes, because the gametophytes having 2 different stages of development. Number 1 is prostrate, that is protonymal stage, and number 2 is erect gametophore stage, and it is differentiated into stem-like axis, which is known as colloid and leaf-like phylloid and rhizoids. The gametophore, this will be gametophore, is the persistent gametophyte which bears sex organs, and rhizoids of gametophores are branched, multicellular with diagonal cross walls, and sporophytes are differentiated either into food or capsule or into food, sita and capsule. And the sporophytic plant body se magi plant body sida koina food and the capsule dang divide to basu yai, aduga food and sita and capsule and divide to basu yai kwa adu food is the my gametophytic plant body do the nappagi saruk to adu na food kaure capsule is na koina sporogonium yauriba spore myan yomaga yauriba do na koina capsule kaure adu sita jina a junction attaching portion between food and the capsule do boy koina sita na kaure aduna karigumba pambi khara da si sita ge portion yaute food and capsule dang yawe ko. Then sporogenous tissue derives from either endothelium or from epithelium, but in either case sporogenous tissue encircles a sterile columella. Here what do you mean by a sterile columella? And sporogenous tissue only gives rise to spore sterile cell, that is elaters are absent. Here what do you mean by sterile cells? These sterile cells are nothing but those cells which have no capacity of reproduction. Sexual reproduction ngamdaba cells in the baikana, that is known as sterile cells, whether it may be male or female. Then the class Bryophyta is divided into 3 subclasses, that is Sphagneidae. It contains only one order, that is Sphagnales, that is Sphagnum, and Andreidae, Bryidae, and so on up to the 15, that is Funarials, Funaria, and such as. And in your syllabus we have to study about from Andreidae you have to study Funarials, Andreidae you have to study Andrea, and from Bryidae you have to study Polytricales and then Dawsoniales, and from your Funarials, etc. So you have in your syllabus we have to study only 3 subspecies under this subclass, that is Sphagneidae and Sphagnum. So these are all about the structural organization of the 3 classes of Bryophyta, and after this I have to discuss with you in the next class. This is all about this today's class, and if anything difficult to you, let us concern or let us discuss in the next class. So welcome to you all in the next class. So anything which is not familiar with you can cite this feedback with me. So thank you, dear students.